Hey everybody, welcome back. It is me, lukemick here, and this is my review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So The Amazing Spider-Man 2 finds Peter Parker juggling quite a few things in his life. He has to keep track of Gwen Stacy, played by Emma Stone, who is the love of his life, and he kind of has a bit of a problem making contact with her because in the end of the first Amazing Spider-Man film, he made a promise to her father on his deathbed that he would keep her out of everything that he does as Spider-Man. So he's having a lot of troubles kind of cutting off his connection with her. Another thing he has to worry about is Electro, played by Jamie Foxx. Another thing on top of that is Harry Osborn, or Hobgoblin, played by Dane DeHaan, and he also has to worry about Rhino, played by Paul Giamatti, just a little bit in the movie. So The Amazing Spider-Man, the first movie in this rebooted franchise, was one that I didn't really like too much. I really wanted to because I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, but The Amazing Spider-Man really just didn't do it for me. I felt like Sam Raimi did it much better, and I really didn't like the villain in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Lizard, the CG was really crappy, and I thought he was kind of lame. So now we're left with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. My expectations were just kind of there. I didn't really expect anything from this movie. I was hoping, I was like, I hope they can really improve upon the first film. And I'm going to tell you guys right now that in my opinion, this movie is worse than the first Amazing Spider-Man film. So, the first thing that I'm just going to get out of the way is that this movie tonally is all over the damn map. There are so many different weird things happening in this movie. It opens up with a really kind of just wacky chase with Paul Giamatti's Rhino, except he's not the Rhino yet. Just the way the movie opened was so, like, full of energy, but it was really silly and goofy and just kind of funny, and I was laughing a lot, but it was just, like, really random. Like, it set the movie off to a very weird start. After that, we start to have a conversation with Emma Stone, or Gwen Stacy, that's kind of serious, but it's still kind of playful and cheery. That's kind of the tone the movie's going for, and then in different parts of the movie, it gets very serious and very kind of dark, and it just doesn't mesh well at all. And there's something I'm gonna say, this movie does a lot of investigating with Peter Parker's parents, and there's this scene with Peter Parker's father that takes place in the past that is just freaking ridiculous. It's like Goldfinger, 007 Goldfinger, when they're on the plane at the end of that movie. It was like a James Bond action scene starring Peter Parker's scientist father. I thought it was really goofy and ridiculous, and I was just laughing at it. There are many moments in this movie where I was laughing when I wasn't supposed to. That's the point I'm trying to get across. This movie just came off as very freaking cheesy and just very just odd. It just did not feel right. There was a scene with Dane DeHaan and Andrew Garfield, Harry Osborn and Peter Parker, and they haven't seen each other since childhood when they were very young, and they kind of reunite, and then just the music they start playing when they have their conversation, and just the way their conversation plays out and their dialogue, it's just the cheesiest thing I've ever seen. Like, it was like they were just two men like having a bromance, and then they hung out for the day and took a walk on the beach. It was really strange, this movie, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, there isn't a whole lot of action. There's about 3 big action scenes, and there aren't really any smaller, like, crime fighting scenes at all in this movie. It's mostly just trying to develop all the characters that this movie has in it, but none of them are really developed that well. Now, this review might be a little long, you guys, I'm sorry about that, but there's just a lot for me to talk about. So yeah, I mean, the movie just didn't really do a very good job developing everybody. I think that it was trying to take on way too much, and sure, Spider-Man 3 did that, but I feel like Spider-Man 3 did a better job developing at least the villains. Another thing that really made me not like this movie, and something that really just made the tone and mood of the whole entire film just off-kilter, was the soundtrack and the music. I thought the soundtrack for this movie was completely awful. It was done by Hans Zimmer, but every single time Electro was on screen and you'd like shoot a lightning bolt, you'd hear like a burst of dubstep, and then there were really cheesy, like, uplifting alternative rock songs whenever Peter Parker was like trying to make a battery. It was the music in this movie really turned me off for the whole entire thing. It was really bad. It felt very out of place and awkward, and I did not like it one bit. Something that I think the movie did do right though is the relationship with Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. I thought that was pretty good. It was in the first one too. I think it grows quite a bit more in this movie as well. And I will say that I actually really liked Jamie Foxx in this movie before he turned into Electro. The villain of Electro I really did not care for. I didn't like the CG that they did with that character. He just didn't really, I don't know, he didn't feel like he really had a good enough motive in this movie. I mean, he kind of did, but I really just did not like the way they portrayed him in this movie. But I do like his character before he's Electro, Max Dillon, who was played by Jamie Foxx. He was the whole entire time. I thought his character was pretty funny, and I was laughing quite a bit because of that character, but I don't think I was supposed to be laughing at some parts. I just really liked how over the top Jamie Foxx went with that role because I thought it was funny, and that was one of the more enjoyable parts of the entire movie. And this movie honestly doesn't even have like a defining action scene. There's the opening scene with Rhino that I think is alright, but it was really weird. But then the final battle that Spider-Man has with Electro, I feel is so short-lived and so lame. It's just this big CG setup and freaking garbage, and you just see a bunch of electricity bouncing around with a bunch of dubstep music, and it really was not fun to watch at all. I honestly did not like that battle. There is the battle of Hobgoblin that I think is pretty cool. It's one of the more entertaining ones in the entire movie, but it's extremely short-lived, and this movie really just was not good. It was really quite long, and the pacing wasn't bad. I just feel like the whole entire time I was like, okay, the movie's long, whatever. I was just kind of setting myself up for like a really entertaining final act. The whole entire time I was in this movie, I was like, okay, the end's gonna be really cool, it's gonna be really entertaining, there's gonna be a good fight scene, all the bad guys are gonna be there, and it's gonna be really cool, and I was really let down by what I got in the third and final act. And some of the freaking dialogue in this movie was so cheesy, especially from Dane DeHaan. I really like Dane DeHaan as an actor. I loved him in Chronicle, The Place Beyond the Pines, and anything else that he's been in, but I feel like honestly he was kind of miscast as Harry Osborn in this movie. He was kind of a snotty little punk, which is who the character really is, but I feel like he just played it way too cartoony. It just did not really feel right with me, and especially when he turned into Hobgoblin. It was just ridiculous. And the makeup artist and his hair, I was laughing at Dane DeHaan's performance at some parts. This movie, honestly, I really kind of wanted to like it because I liked the cast, and I really wish they would have been able to improve on the first Amazing Spider-Man film, but all of it just came off as so forced, so stupid and weird, so cartoony, and I really just did not like it, and it had a lot of really kind of awful music, in my opinion, with it. The only things I really liked were the relationship with Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker. Sally Field was okay, I forgot to mention her. I like her as Aunt May, and I liked Jamie Foxx before he turned into Electro, but other than that, everything else in this movie really just was kind of a downer. So, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 stars. I really wish I would have liked it more. I want to hear what you guys think, and now I'm going to go watch everybody else's reviews for this movie because I don't watch anyone else's reviews until I filmed, edited, and uploaded my review. So now I'm excited to see what everyone else thought about it because I thought that this movie had a lot of glaring problems. And just to let you guys know, I might do a spoiler review with a friend from Marc, Jacob Miller, in the next couple of days. It might happen, it might not, whatever. I will talk to you guys later, and please subscribe.